let's hit the dance floor. Don't work too hard, might break a backbone.
Retired Chaos. If you are new here, hi, I'm Mariana Montana. I'm your host of Retired Chaos, and I like to talk about all things wellness, give advice based on like experiences, and I do love to back it up with just a lot of my learnings, a lot of things that I read, a lot of research. I'll get in there and try and like figure out what my brain is doing, what I'm doing, what I'm going through like science. So really everything from like mental health, physical health, relationship health, and just like overall quality of life. So I'm excited that you're here. Guys, I'm gonna have to figure it the fuck out. I am on my, what is this, trundle is what they call it. A trundle? A trundle. I'm on my trundle here in Pittsburgh. So it looks like a twin bed, but no, it's the top bunk, my bunk. Thank you. And I decided that I was going to record this in the comfort of a bed because it's gloomy in Pittsburgh. I want to get cozy and just talk to you guys, do a little chit chat, kick things off cozy. So that's what we're doing today. I'm excited. I'm excited to kick season 2 off of Retired Chaos. I decided that I was going to do season 2. Season 1 is over, scratched, done, bye-bye. And I decided to create season 2 because season 1 was kind of a conglomerate of the chaos that is me. Hi, hello. And just everything, I had a co-host and then I didn't. And then, I had 2 episodes kind of explaining myself. And then I ended it because I went to Mexico and I was having a good time over the holidays, hanging out with my family, hanging out with my friends. And I just didn't want to have the pressure of doing that. So I was like, you know what? Flipping the page, new year, new me, sort of. Will be. We'll get into it in just a second, but start over. So this is season 2 of Retired Chaos, and I have so many amazing things. If you follow me on the socials, I started a new series, and it is the Retired Chaos series. I have 118 days till I turn 30, and I just now am deciding like, when I get to 30, I want to be here. And here's the thing. I have a ton of goals from like my mind, my body, the way I treat myself, the way I treat others, the way I conduct relationships, like everything. And I've always had these goals for a while now. If you know me, you know I've always, wanted to have a better body, wanted to have a better lifestyle, wanted to like glow up always. But I always was the type of person that was saying, I'll start tomorrow. Or like, that is, I can quickly do that because I'm young and I know how to do it. So I'm just going to hold off. And in the meantime, I'm just going to do whatever I want and live in the moment and be very short-sighted and short-minded, if that makes sense. Now that I'm pushing 30, I'm like, okay, don't want to do that anymore. Could I be a little late? Could I have started 6 months ago? Sure. But it's never too late. And I think 118 days is enough for me to be like very consistent, be very intentional with what I'm going to do and see some fucking results. So I started a series on Instagram and TikTok, if you want to follow me, about my thoughts about what I'm doing across how I'm eating, how I'm thinking about things with relationships, how I'm thinking about working out, my thoughts, my struggles, everything. And I'm getting very, very open. So, to kick things off, we are going to talk about my ins and outs of 2024. I really had to slow down in the beginning of the year. It's at the end of January right now that I'm recording this. And I took the whole month off before kicking off the season because I really wanted to think about, okay, well, what are my ins and outs if I'm really going to take the next 118 days and be very intentional? What are they? It can't be a really long list. Like I've been seeing a ton of people have really, really big lists of their ins and outs. And I'm like, okay, you have 20 fucking things on your outs. How are you going to remember that? Are you looking at that every single day? And then like, you're just going to be distracted. You're going to be overwhelmed by so many things that you're like focusing on being out or in, that you're going to accidentally have one of them in when it's on your out list, or vice versa. There's just too many things to think about. And I am notorious for this. I'm notorious for being a dreamer and being like, I want to do this, and that. And then I'll be very good at planning and not really like slow down and say, okay, like that's your end goal. And I'm really good. I'm really good at coming up with my end goals, but I'm not very good at like working backwards to be like, oh, how do I get there? And I think that is why I've only like been able to like half achieve the things that I always say that I want to do. So I had to really think about it and get very intentional. So my list is small. This is obviously going to be a short episode. They always are. Well, I like to keep them 30 minutes or less. But my ins and outs, some of them are serious, some of them are not. I mean, they're serious to me. But yeah, we're just going to keep it light chit chat and we can get into it. Before we get into it, I'll update you. The last month, I have been traveling. I got back from Mexico. I was in Mexico for 2 weeks, and that was so good. So good. We don't typically go that early to Mexico, but we did this time, and I was able to just like hang out with my cousins, my friends, my grandpa, my grandma, just have like a lot of love and time. And then I came back to Dallas, and I was in Dallas for 2 weeks as well. Hung out with my friends, my family, my little niece Olivia. She's my best friend. That girl, she's my little twin. Now, the way that season 2 is going to go, it is a theme. There is a theme. I am going through the season of life where I'm figuring things out. So all of the titles are going to start with I figured out. Starting with I figured out my ins and outs for 2024. Let's start with the ins. We should start with the in. First in, and there are in no particular order except the last one. In, stretching. Stretching is in, okay? I am pushing 30. I am pushing back pain. Here's the deal. I've been working out for over a decade, like consistently. Like people that know me from high school, college, if you ask them like one thing that you could describe Mariana, they would probably say chaotic, but also say like she was always in the gym. Always in the gym. And I have never truly stretched. I know, like kind of half into fitness, if you will. Never stretched. And it's catching up to me, guys. Okay, I am getting to the point where the other day I literally had one of my pillows. I had to put the pillow under my knees and lift my knees in a way where they're kind of bent and like laid over the pillow so that I could sleep like that and make sure that my back was flat. Because if I just slept like normal, I would have just like back pain, sleeping on my back. Back pain is out, stretching is in. And I want to get my middle splits, my side splits, everything. And here's the thing, I've always wanted this goal. Again, going back to the like, oh yeah, like I could do this whenever. And then all of a sudden I woke up and I'm almost 30. So like I'm actually going to do it this year. Next, in calling my mom and dad weekly. This last time that I went to Dallas, I noticed my relationship with them has just shifted from mom and dad to like friends. And I realized how much time has passed being away from them. And like when I was in Chicago, I didn't really call them as much. And I realized like just how fast time flies. And I just don't want to sit another week without knowing what my family is doing, what my parents are doing, like actually knowing their story. I want to be able to look back on all the stories that they told me about themselves and what they were doing when they were 30, what they were doing before they had me. Because at the end of the day, parents are living life for the first time, just like we are. And they're just big kids that grew up. And I know this because I am a big kid that grew up and is growing up. I still have kid-like tendencies sometimes of like being a dreamer and imagining and wanting to be creative and trying to do like little skits and stuff. And I'm like, oh, I feel like a kid, but really I'm just a kid that grew up. So Anyways, calling my mom and dad weekly. In long hugs. And I'm not talking about those fucking fake side hugs, okay? I'm talking about frontals, full frontal 20-second hugs, okay? Where you hug somebody and you can feel their belly, both of your bellies are touching, and it's like this awkward moment. Maybe not awkward, but it's like 15 seconds, 17 seconds, and then it starts getting a little awkward because it's too long, but it's perfect. Long hugs are in. I have recently been doing this with Davis. I get stressed and overwhelmed. It's a really good way to calm me down. I am somebody that gets into fight or flight mode very quickly. And I have more on this on a next episode. I figured out how to get out of stress really quickly, but I'll save that for the next episode. Hugging really, really brings me back to baseline. And so long hugs are in. Another in, reading. Guys, I gotta admit, I'm a Kindle bitch. I love it. I actually last year I downloaded Goodreads, and it's my favorite social media app. Goodreads, you can go in there, make a profile, and like you can update people on like what you're reading, what you're gonna read, what your wish list is, like how far along you're in a book. And I am on my 5th book of the year. It has helped me remove filler words in my vocabulary, trying to lower the filler words. So reading is super in. Early morning affirmations. I need to talk about this more. I did a little video on why, but long story short, the best time to switch your subconscious mind, to flip it from like being a pessimist to an optimist, or trying to attract things that you want, is in the mornings. There's this whole thing on when is the optimal time for creativity and visualization, and a lot of it is in the morning. So early morning affirmations, literally I wake up as soon as I wake up, and that's like the first thing I do. And the cool thing about affirmations, you guys should try it if you want to increase, like if you're like, okay, I want to be more successful, or I want to start a business, or I want to be more confident. You can literally Google affirmations for X. Next, my favorite, and I wish I was having one right now, in fermented pickles. Fermented pickles are in all the way. I got the idea with fermented pickles because I've been wanting fermented food. It's really good for your gut health, but I don't love a lot of fermented things. Davis's dad makes fermented pickles, and I am obsessed with them. I was like, Jimbo, you better start pumping those pickles out for as long as I'm hanging out with you. So he recently just made pickles this morning. He was like, hey, Mariana, like your pickles are ready. And I had one at 8:30 in the morning, and I am not afraid to admit that. Fermented pickles, in. Hobbies involving your hands. Yes, hobbies involving your hands are in for 2024. I'm talking like crocheting, sewing, ring making, paint by number canvases, pottery, all of that. I make wired rings. I stopped for a little bit, but now I'm back at it again. The reason why I say hobbies with your hands is because it forces you to like zone in and be present on what you're doing, and it slows your mind down. And if anybody knows me well around here, you know that my mind is going 150 miles an hour at all times. So it just really helps me just zone in. In sleeping. And I'm talking like, I want to change that. In being a sleepy girl. Same thing, different marketing. At least 8 hours. I had no idea. I recently just finished reading this book called Burnout, and that is a book that I'll be referencing a lot through this season because it has changed my life. Like, it's a Bible for me. Not the actual Bible, Lord, but it is a Bible for survival. And it talks a lot about sleeping, a lot of research behind it, how you can literally increase your mortality by 12% if you don't get enough sleep. And that is something that all research and science backs up. There's zero debate in the science world of why sleeping is so good. So I'm a sleepy girl in 2024. That's in. Next, individuality. This one kills me. It kills me because everything on social media, everything around me feels the same. Like, I feel like, and it's fine, right? When you're somebody that's making content or you're on the internet, you're trying to like post your stuff and you see things over and over again and you see what's working, you tend to want to copy those things. But it's gotten to the point where I can't differentiate who is who's what at all. And here's the thing. I have found myself in that situation, obviously. So it is hard when you're like, damn, like, why doesn't this work? And then you see somebody else doing something. You're like, well, maybe if I do that exact thing, it'll work. No. Individuality is in, and I'm trying to find my style. Yeah, just my thing and being an individual. Next and last but not least, Irish goodbyes. Irish goodbyes. There is an art to Irish goodbyes. I am not so great at them. I tried to Irish goodbye when I was at the cabin with my friends and they caught me and they're like, what are you doing? Like, get back over here. Like, do what you need to do to stay awake. And I was like, fuck. And then I Irish goodbyed again successfully. This is a skill. I got this idea from Davis's dad, Jimbo. We love Jimbo. Jimbo is an artist at Irish goodbying. There are times that we're all hanging out and all of a sudden he's nowhere to be found. And I'm like, where the fuck did Jimbo go? And he gone. He really gone. And I would like to perfect the art of Irish goodbying. Irish goodbying is in. I don't have to tell anybody why I want to leave, why it's time to go. Like, the whole, it's been fun, but it hasn't been real fun. And so therefore I'm leaving. It's just something that I don't want to do going into my 30s, you know? So I'm figuring that one out. But it is in, 100%. Now, let's flip the page to outs. Outs. I wanted to start like on a high vibrating note, if you will. Let's get into the outs. Fight or flight mode. That is out with a caveat unless you're getting obviously kidnapped or chased by a lion or something is crazy and you need to survive. Other than that, getting into fight or flight mode because of something that happened at work or filing my fucking taxes or, you know, chugging a Celsius in the morning without any food and now all of a sudden my body is stressed and it's just like over elevated. Fight or flight is out, and I'm going to talk about that later on in the season in an episode on how to do that well because I really do think that I have mastered this. Number 2, grudges. I am notorious for holding grudges, like low-key grudges, and a lot of them are grudges with myself, like, oh, you know, I even up until like last year, I was holding grudges about myself that I did in high school. Like, oh, you dumb bitch, like, da-da-da-da-da. Just grudges weigh you down. There's no purpose because it's like, well, what are grudges going to do? Are they going to change the reality of the situation of where the grudge came from? Probably not. So what's the point? It's just bringing you down. It's just lowering your energy. It's draining. Grudges are draining, and I'm over it. Out. Bye-bye. Next question. Comparisons. Comparison is the thief of joy. Truly. That is a saying for a reason. I am, again, notorious for comparing myself. I used to compare myself growing up to my sister. They do more damage than they ever do good, and I have just found that comparing myself has never led me to being more successful. All it does is lead me to feel drained. And also, to compare yourself is not thinking about you. You're thinking about the other person that you're comparing yourself to a lot more than you're even thinking about yourself. So it's just not going to do anything that is productive for you in any single way. So comparison, out. I'm done with it. Out. Embarrassment. And I talked about this previously on my last episode about how to be confident, how to not be embarrassed or whatever. But honestly, just embarrassment across all boards. Like being embarrassed for other people, I won't ever do that. Being embarrassed for myself, I won't do that because at the end of the day, to be embarrassed and to be like, oh, this assumption about me that other people are thinking about, first of all, it's none of their fucking business. Whoa, I got real passionate about that for a second. Relax. It's none of their fucking business, and quite frankly, it's none of your business to be caring so much about what you're doing. Just fucking do it. Just fucking do it. Like, literally, I had somebody the other day, a friend of mine, which he was joking, but to other people, it would make them feel embarrassed. Where I was like, hey, I gotta go. Like, I am recording this podcast. And he was like, to fucking 5 fucking people. I'm like, that a year ago would make me feel embarrassed. Like, internally, be like, ugh, damn. You know what I mean? That is like judging you or saying anything, like, is probably not better off than you. So I'm done with embarrassment. I'm done feeling embarrassed for other people. We're done with that. Ow, 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 ow. This next one is a controversial one, maybe, but fish is out. I'm not gonna lie, my collagen is made out of fish, but other than that, out. I have been just wanting to throw up at the sight of fish. And I like shrimp, and I like a little bit of cod, and I like a little bit of salmon every once in a while, but honestly, lately, I'm like, fish can get away from me. And when I was first transitioning back from, like, when I was a vegan, transitioning back to eating meat, that was the first thing that I started eating. And now I'm like, ugh, like, I'm just repulsed at the thought of fish. I am about to start doing a parasite cleanse, and I'm not going to get too deep into it because, like, I am going to make an episode about this kind of stuff at a later date. But I just ordered a parasite cleanse, and a lot of it, you know, is recommending that you not eat that stuff because fish tend to have a higher level of mercury and a higher level of parasites. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. And so for me, I'm just like, ugh, gross, fish. Fish is out. Out. Over talking. Sometimes I just don't know when to shut the fuck up. I am done over talking. I'm done over explaining. I'm done over giving people any details when they just asked one question directed to one thing. Like, shut up. I'm done over talking. If you're not asking me a very specific question that involves me giving you more, you're going to get the answer to the question that you asked for very directly. And that is what I'm working on. This is also purposely for me to be better at my job. And there is an art of just shutting up and letting silence do its thing. You know what I mean? Next, overconsumption. I have always, well, not always, but as of the recent years, I've been really good at this. Like, I don't, I lied. Davis took Amazon away from me like 7 months ago, and I feel like I'm high and mighty. No. Okay. Last year, in the beginning of the year, I was over consuming. I was becoming an emotional buyer. Like, I would see something on TikTok. I was like, oh my God, like, I need this. Like, I just ended up piling up. And towards the end of the year, when we were cleaning out the house, a lot of it was all mine, and a lot of it was things that I just, like, don't use. Like, the amount of supplements that I threw away because they were expired, because I was like, oh, I need to take these things. Or, like, the amount of clothes that I donated that I, like, wore once and never used again. It's just ridiculous. So overconsumption is out. I'm working on a capsule wardrobe, and I am doing this thing where I give myself 7 business days to think on it, stew on it, and make a decision whether or not I'm going to buy something or not. 7 days, I think, is more than enough. I have implemented this, and I have found that within, like, 3 days, I'm, like, kind of done. Even within, like, the next day, I, like, forget that I wanted this thing, if obviously it's not being plastered all over social media for me to see it. There are other purchases that I have spent a very, very long time stewing on. Things like an Oura ring. I really want the Oura ring, and I've been thinking about it for like a year. My Apple Watch, I thought about it. Like, these bigger purchases where I'm like, okay, this is a lot of money. I need to sit on it and really think about if I need it. And then I'll make the decision, which I am going to get the Oura ring. Thank you very much. I've decided. out overconsumption. This next one might be a controversial one. I don't care. I'm getting in front of the camera very closely to tell you. Cuddling is out for me. Cuddling is out. Davis is not particularly a big fan of this. I was going upstairs before I started recording this, and I was like, I'm going to do my ins and outs, babe. Cuddling is out. And he was like, don't love that. And we just kind of looked at each other, and I was like, well, so sorry to let you know that cuddling is out. Maybe there's a caveat with this one being like, I don't know, like if you're cuddling, like spooning is fine, I guess. I don't know. I don't like laying on my side, but ladies know, and maybe some men can relate, like watching a movie, you're as a man sitting on your back, laying on your back, whatever it may be, you're comfortable, dude. You're just sitting there having a good time, right? And then to cuddle, you're like, oh, babe, it's time for us to cuddle. And girlfriend is like, don't want to do this, but like I do want to get close to you, because I know that a lot of females feel this way, and they'll do things anyways to please, which, again, we're going to talk about this later on in the season because I've learned some shit. But enough is enough with doing something that is uncomfortable. Enough is enough. Cuddling is uncomfortable. You're laying there, a girlfriend comes, gets into your chest, like puts her face on your chest, but it's not really your chest, it's kind of your shoulder, and then your neck is like, and you're like cracked, and it's like at a 90-degree angle backwards, and then you still have to kind of like adjust your angle to look at the screen and watch a movie. It is so uncomfortable. I don't understand the concept of cuddling. I never will, and I have deemed it to be out till further notice. We can hold hands, but cuddling is out unless my dog wants to snuggle, and he can come right here. Last but not least, the last one in my ins list was very strategically placed, and then the last one on my outs list was very strategically placed as well. Beating around the bush. Out. Guys, it's 2024. Say it with your fucking chest. I feel like maybe people would think that this is a little aggressive, but I've gotten to the point in my life where I'm not going to go out of my way to tiptoe around people or change the way that I'm like acting in certain situations because like I'm already uncomfortable, but like I don't want to say anything and I don't want to cause drama and I don't want to. No. Listen. Beating around the bush is no good for from you or the other person, either parties. Obviously picking your battles and saying like, okay, it's not worth saying things in certain moments. And this has nothing to do with like arguing. It also has to do with like just telling people what you want, right? Like me and Davis have implemented this thing. It's a very simple thing. It's just we tell each other what we want. And I think a lot of people in relationships, especially starting out, you're like doing mental gymnastics trying to figure out what the other person wants, and then the other person is just not telling you, and you're sitting there trying to figure it the fuck out. And it's like, just tell each other what you need. Like, life would be so much easier if you're like, hey, you know what I need right now in this moment? This is what I need. And then that person is like, oh my God, great. I was even so far away from that. I didn't even think that that's what you wanted. I thought you wanted this. And it has been life-changing for me in all of my relationships. As far as arguments go, again, like pick your battles. I personally think like if you're close with somebody and it's worth saying something and it's worth salvaging a relationship or talking about things, beating around the bush is only going to harm the friendship, the relationship. This passive stuff, like I just don't like it. There's obviously a way and a tone to say it, but last year I did this a lot. Beat around the bush, just like I feel like I'm walking on eggshells and I don't want to do that anymore. I'm just gonna say it with my chest and it'll be fine. And if it's not gonna be fine, then it really wasn't for me. You know what I mean? And those are my in and outs for 2024. I really wanted to make this list like very specific, very intentional. I wanted to make this list to kind of give me like a baseline guideline of like how I'll be moving the next year. very intentionally with very specific things. And I just feel like this list, excluding some of the funny ones, like, you know, the fermented pickle. Well, fermented pickle is my gut health. Like, I'm on my gut health shit. So I guess not really, but just like a way for me to be able to stack on top over the next year. And just a good way to like ease into season 2, because I really wanted to make the season and make like the podcast funnier. But I'm in just this stage of figuring a lot of things out in life, and it's a very, very, very transitional time in my life. And so maybe it might not be that funny, but I am still going to try and make it funny. So if you're listening and you got this far, thank you. I love you. As always, follow me on Instagram, follow me on TikTok. I'm doing my series there, and we'll be talking next week. See ya.
You feel alive, let's hit the dance floor. Don't work too hard, might break a backbone. Return of the Mac, the king is back though. Corvette and cash, I never lack those. She saw the stone, you know how that go.